Hello and welcome. Here's what's happening right now. President Trump's bold threat against Mexican cartels.
And he lumped Canada and Mexico into the same basket.
Why Canada could be the next target.
Customer service, sales, anything.
The specific group having the hardest time finding work.
Many go into debt to fund their Olympic careers.
Plus, unveiling Canada's women's Olympic hockey team and the heavy cost of shooting for gold.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Donald Trump is talking tough on Mexico, signaling land strikes against drug cartels in that country are coming. The U.S. has already said it believes cartels are operating in Canada, and officials on both sides of the border are cautiously watching the president's next move. CTV's Judy Trin now with the Mexican response and the growing risk for Canada. Judy.
Heather, Eurasia Group, a global advisory firm, says that Canada may be the nation most profoundly impacted by U.S. foreign policy this year. Donald Trump claimed the capture of Nicolas Maduro was about stopping narco-terrorism. Now Trump is signaling he may send American troops onto Mexican soil.
We've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by water. And we are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico.
Mexico has previously turned down Trump's offer of military intervention, but is concerned Trump will act on his own, like he did in Venezuela.
And I think for Canada, that's also dangerous. Don't forget that when we started this year, a lot of the discussion was around "quote unquote" fentanyl flows across borders, and he lumped Canada and Mexico into the same basket.
The U.S. has declared 8 cartels terror organizations. 7 of them are based in Mexico. During his meeting with Sheinbaum last September, the Prime Minister acknowledged some of them operate in Canada.
With respect to transnational crime, organized crime, cartels, gangs. The unfortunate fact is that there are gangs from one country in another country, but also vice versa.
In recent months, Mexico and Canada have stepped up efforts to disrupt trafficking networks, including raids to close in on Ryan Wedding, an alleged Canadian cocaine kingpin, believed to be protected by the Sinaloa cartel. On social media, the White House warned, F around and find out. After Venezuela, after threats to invade Greenland, and now Mexico, analysts say Canada could be most exposed.
If you are weak and you are doing stuff Trump doesn't like, and you can be an ally or you can be an adversary, right? You can be Canada or you can be Venezuela, but you get FAFO'd.
In a recent interview with the New York Times, Trump said that he's not constrained by international law or Congress, but by his own morality. He says that's the only thing that can stop him. Heather.
Our senior correspondent Judy Trin in Ottawa. New video from Minneapolis shows the moments before the deadly shooting of a woman in her vehicle from the immigration enforcement officer's perspective. A warning, the footage is disturbing.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
Renee Good speaking to the man who would pull the trigger seconds later. He films her license plate and circles the vehicle when the shooting takes place. Vigils have been held across the country in memory of the 37-year-old mother and U.S. citizen. Protests also continued today in Minneapolis in what has become a flashpoint in the Trump administration's crackdown in U.S. cities. U.S. forces have seized a 5th oil tanker as the Trump administration continues to pressure Venezuela in efforts to take control of the country's oil exports. This footage was provided by U.S. Southern Command and shows troops boarding a tanker called Olena in the Caribbean Sea. The ship appears on sanctions lists of multiple countries. The U.S. says it's using the seizures to pressure Venezuela to remove the so-called dark fleet, which allegedly consists of over 1,000 vessels that transport illicit oil. Speaking from a meeting with top oil executives today, U.S. President Donald Trump invited China and Russia to buy their share of oil from the U.S. as it takes control of the industry in Venezuela.
We are open for business. China can buy all the oil they want from us there or in the United States. Russia can get all the oil they need from us.
Trump also justified his administration's capture of former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, arguing adversaries like Russia and China would have if the U.S. didn't first. The U.S. Supreme Court did not issue a decision today in the high-profile case challenging Donald Trump's tariffs. The case is centered around whether Trump overstepped his presidential powers by using a decades-old law and declaring a national emergency to impose sweeping tariffs. The delay keeps tariffs and uncertainty in place for businesses and American trading partners. The top court is expected to issue its next set of rulings on January 14th, with several major cases still pending. Some mixed news for the Canadian economy, with more people employed, but even more still looking. Over 8,000 jobs were added last month, which is higher than expected, and most of it full-time work. But despite the gains, the unemployment rate also rose slightly to 6.8%, with more people still searching. One generation in this latest jobs report is once again standing out. Young workers aged 15 to 24 account for close to 30,000 job losses in December. CTV's Andrew Johnson spoke with one person struggling in the search. Andrew.
Heather, I spoke to a young guy by the name of Omar. He's 20 and has applied for dozens of jobs. So far, no bites. Omar Yunus moved from Egypt in 2023 and graduated high school a year later in Metro Vancouver. He has volunteered, but says he spent a year looking for paid work with no success, casting his net as wide as he can.
Trying. Any job. Construction, customer service, sales, anything.
What's the response been when you apply for jobs?
We're gonna call you. We're gonna call you later.
The numbers suggest many other young people may be in the same boat. At one point, the youth jobless rate in the second half of 2025 was worse than at any point in the past decade and a half, except for during the pandemic. Experts say the stereotype Gen Z is lazy or not willing to work as hard as previous generations isn't the issue. Instead, they point to a problem created by a combination of economic uncertainty and the rise of AI. Many entry-level positions in retail and the service sector are at risk of disappearing because of AI. Research from Stanford University has also shown artificial intelligence is eating into the supply of jobs in fields including computer science, where it can competently complete tasks like writing code. Omar Yunus says he relies on AI to help craft his cover letters and resume.
Cover letter, resume, summary for anything, reading book for you.
Yunus is optimistic he'll find something soon. He's started a course to get up to speed working as a security guard. Just one young person's experience hunting for a job in 2026. Heather?
Andrew Johnson for us. Thank you. Members of the Canadian Forces are being deployed to northern Manitoba after calls for help from a remote First Nation. A specialized team from the Canadian Armed Forces are going to Pimicikamak Cree Nation, where a 4-day power outage has led to sewage backups, burst pipes, and water shortages. 4,000 people had to be evacuated from the community, which is about 500 kilometers north of Winnipeg. The federal emergency management minister made the announcement today after calls to send in the military came from community leaders. The early and intense rise of flu cases this season has put a major strain on emergency rooms right across the country, with Alberta doctors even asking for a state of emergency to be declared. Though today a positive sign, the number of new cases appears to be falling. CTV's Abigail Beeman takes a look at the new numbers and what they tell us. Abigail.
Heather, we just got the latest national flu numbers, and they back up what the experts have been saying, that the peak may be behind us. But hospitals across the country tell us a drop in flu cases alone won't solve overcrowding problems.
We just don't have the ability to look after the people who walk through our doors.
The situation in Alberta hospitals is so dire, the Alberta Medical Association wants the province to declare a state of emergency. It comes just weeks after this 44-year-old father died after allegedly waiting 8 hours for care in the ER.
People are not surprised to wait 16, 18, 24 hours to be seen with a medical emergency in an emergency department. If that isn't a state of emergency, I don't know what is.
The government says the calls are misguided and measures the exceptionally busy system has taken are in line with past winters, including canceling some scheduled surgeries. Meanwhile, new national flu numbers up to January 3rd show the percentage of positive tests is down. Outbreaks are down and hospitalizations are stable. But at this Northern Ontario hospital, where the flu has forced patients into dining rooms and hallways for the first time in a long time, a drop in flu cases alone won't solve the problem.
Waiting in hospital for alternate discharge locations, limited primary care in the community, and the aging population and comorbidities are still impacting our volumes.
Ottawa, too, forced to use dining rooms and hallways.
We are certainly experiencing a surge of patient volumes, and it is largely related to potentially influenza, but also complications related to influenza.
While Newfoundland and Labrador now reporting 2 flu deaths, with the latest case numbers 3 times higher than the 5-year average.
We've certainly seen a little bit of an uptick in flu cases over the past week or so.
Across the country, cases among those 19 and younger previously leading the way have dropped off sharply, while cases among those 65 and older have soared. Heather?
CTV's Abigail Beeman in Ottawa. Iran is now under a nationwide internet blackout as anti-government protests continue for a 13th straight day. This is one of the few videos that has emerged from the country overnight. The internet shutdown means current footage and information coming from inside the country is much more scarce. Internet tracking agency NetBlocks says the blackout has been in place for over 24 hours and data shows connectivity is at just 1% of usual levels. As the demonstrations grow, Iran's supreme leader is lashing out.
He's talking about these protesters essentially foreign agents and therefore should be crushed. Clearly, he's showing no indication to be willing to listen to the people.
In a televised address, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei dismissed the protesters as, quote, a bunch of vandals and says they are trying to please Donald Trump, who has threatened Iran if the government kills protesters. One human rights group says 14 security personnel and 48 protesters have died since the demonstrations began last month after a collapse in the country's currency. Coming up, new hope for those suffering from Alzheimer's.
The longer we have together, the better off we are.
A Canadian first, but concerns remain over coverage. A new Alzheimer's drug, first approved for use in Canada back in September, is giving patients a glimmer of hope against the disease. Today, the first Canadian was infused with the drug, but so far there is no coverage for the cost in this country. CTV's Adrian Gabriel joins us from Toronto with more on the promise for patients. Adrian.
Heather, a historic day here inside Toronto's Sunnybrook Hospital is delivering hope for those battling Alzheimer's across Canada.
It's starting right now.
With the press of a button, the miracle that is modern medical science goes to work.
I say to anybody who needs this procedure that if they can get it, get it.
Sharon Runge began experiencing mild memory loss about 4 years ago.
Probably in the last year or so, the diagnosis of Alzheimer's has been made.
The Runge family have been waiting for Health Canada to approve this drug that will gift them life's most valuable commodity, time.
It's a historic moment for people living with Alzheimer's disease and their families in Canada.
Today marked the first ever infusion of lecanemab in Canadian history, administered by neurologist Dr. Sarah Mitchell.
It's a monoclonal antibody. It goes in and it basically removes the bad plaques from the brain. It slows down the progression of the disease by about 30%.
Canada is the last of the G7 nations to approve lecanemab. As of today, it still isn't covered by any province, and that comes at a cost.
$32,000 Canadian, and that is per year. We are hoping that we can have equal access for all Canadians to this drug, and that requires government support.
Any future funding of the drug has received some public pushback.
Well, I'd say they should walk in our shoes.
The infusions yield the best outcomes for those battling the early stages of the disease. While Sharon admits she's unaware of her cognitive deterioration, her sense of humor is on point when we ask that she share her age.
I'm 16.
No, she's...
And the love that she has for her children, as well as her husband Dallard, remains as present as ever.
I am so fortunate to have met him. He's the most important thing in my life.
The Runges now have hope that their loving life together will also have longevity.
The troublesome protein can arrive in the brain decades before symptoms arrive. The next step is testing whether this drug can help offset Alzheimer's in asymptomatic patients. Heather.
Adrian Gobriel in Toronto, thank you. It's well known that Canada has a love affair with hockey, and now hockey is part of one Ontario couple's love story. The wedding sealed with a kiss and the triumphant sound of the goal horn. The couple became engaged last year when the bride-to-be said "I do" to an on-ice proposal. And last night they decided to tie the knot at the same arena at another Windsor Spitfires game. Congratulations. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Canada's smallest province is making a sizable dent in the fight against climate change, reporting a drop in carbon emissions 3 years in a row. CTV's Maria Saru now on Prince Edward Island's pursuit of net zero emissions and the challenges that lie ahead.
Prince Edward Island is getting bigger fast, but its greenhouse gas emissions are going the other way, dropping for a third year straight. The province credits energy efficiency upgrades, land protection, and much more.
PEI is very proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish with the help of Islanders.
According to the newest numbers, the province's GHG emissions were nearly 1.6 megatons in 2023, down almost 1% year over year, despite population growth of close to 17% in the same period. But more people means more cars and more trips, making transportation the biggest source of emissions. It's not just a challenge in PEI, but a Canada-wide pattern, says climate expert Adam Thorne.
We have an economic system that's very much rooted in our transportation system. We move lots of goods and services across the country with vehicles as well.
He adds the transition to EVs is part of the fix, but uptake has cooled. Registrations surged in late 2024, hitting 18.3%, but they stayed under 10% throughout most of 2025. Thorne points to Ottawa's abrupt pause on the federal EV purchase incentive early last year, which has since ended. But back on the island, the work continues with incentives of its own.
We're going to keep encouraging with our programs like rebates on electric vehicles, and we're going to keep adding with our active transportation projects.
While moving in the right direction, PEI still isn't at its 2030 target of 1.2 megatons. The province says its net zero action plan is coming in the next few months, spelling out more solutions. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
The 23 women's hockey players who will represent Canada at the Winter Olympics have been revealed, and some of them were on hand at today's announcement.
I'm filled with nothing but excitement and confidence about what our team is capable of.
When I look at the roster, I see so much skill and so much compete, and then obviously a ton of experience as well. But with that experience, there's also 7 first-time Olympians, and I think as a group, we're so proud of them.
The event featured a video of young players announcing the roster, which, along with 7 rookies, will include 16 players who won gold at the 2022 Olympic Winter Games in Beijing. The 23 players will try to keep their winning ways alive in Milan, with Canada winning 5 golds and 2 silvers in the last 7 games. Another name added to that team this afternoon is Natalie Spooner, who will be among the veterans on the ice in Italy. Today, she also talked about some of the financial challenges that can come with the quest for gold. Let's bring in CTV's John Vanavalley Rao. And John, what did she have to say?
Heather, Natalie Spooner is, of course, excited to head back to the Olympics, but also drawing attention today to the financial toll it can take on some athletes.
Hey, how's it going? We caught up with Natalie Spooner at the rink ahead of a practice as she reflected on just being named once again to the women's Olympic hockey team.
I mean, it's a dream come true. I'm so excited, overcome with emotion, but really just looking forward to getting there with our team.
Spooner's been with Team Canada to the Olympics 3 times before, twice striking gold, and now plays pro hockey with the Toronto Scepters. In part today, drawing attention to athlete funding. These scratch and win tickets in Ontario celebrate a program called Quest for Gold that sees lottery money help to fund the province's athletes, many of whom have struggled financially.
For me, Quest for Gold has helped me a lot throughout my career, whether it's training costs, gym costs, physio costs, accommodation.
With the Olympics in Italy weeks away, it is drawing attention to the money challenges Canadian athletes face, with some having a tough time paying rising team fees that can be in the tens of thousands of dollars, on top of covering travel and equipment, food and rent.
Certainly many go into debt to fund their Olympic careers. And I worry that their Olympic careers are shortened because of the financial burden that puts upon them.
Some point to countries like Italy and France, which spend more than 10 times as much per person on sport. Ottawa hasn't increased core funding for national sports organizations in 20 years, and there was no new money for them in the last federal budget. Athletes say instead of focusing on training, many have to work.
We've got athletes that work in part-time retail at the mall. Most of the ones I know are in some sort of debt. It's just part of chasing that dream here.
According to one nonprofit funding group, 3 out of 5 athletes who've applied for money are in debt. Just over half work.
There is carding money from the government. Could it be increased to meet inflation? For sure.
And with all the recent talk about spending more on nation building, many athletes believe sport should be a part of that. Heather.
All right, John, thank you. That is our newscast for this Friday. I'll be back with CTV National News at 11. I hope you can join us for ongoing coverage of Canada's top stories. Tune in to CTV News Channel. I'm Heather Butts. Thanks for watching.